Hey folks, Jake Schneider here from Life as an Outsider. My guest today is Jacqueline Brock. Jacqueline owns Bitt of Sugar Baking Company, which is a cool little micro bakery in her own house. We talk about the reason behind that, which is so sweet, and it's a little hard to hear, I'll admit, but it's so cool to hear the reason that she started it. And I think you all will enjoy this one. Here's Jacqueline Brock from Bitt of Sugar Baking Company. My guest today is Jacqueline Brock. Jacqueline owns Bitt of Sugar micro bakery here in West Des Moines. Jacqueline, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. I'm so glad I'm here.
I know, this is super fun. We're doing one of our live in-person interviews. I don't get to do these a whole lot, so
well,
this is fun.
Glad. Yeah, I'm so glad I get to be one of the first ones. So
yeah, and we get to tour your little micro bakery, otherwise known as your kitchen.
Yes,
and this is awesome.
Nothing fancy, but it is what it is. Yeah.
If I had video, you guys would see a little golden doodle jumping up on my lap named Barry.
Yes, Barry is the little Bitt of Sugar mascot. He eats anything that falls on the floor and welcomes every guest. I'm sure you know as soon as you walked in, he just jumped all over you.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
yes, he's a sweetheart.
He really is. So tell me a little bit about Bitt of Sugar and kind of why this, how did you get into baking?
Yeah, so I've actually been baking since I was really little. I always baked with my grandmother, but my Bitt of Sugar actually came about around 2021. So my husband and I were going through infertility, and we'd been going through it for it had been 4, almost 5 years by that point. And we were gearing up to do IVF, and it was our second round of IVF. And we were pretty much stuck at home because it was the middle of COVID. And we were told that if we got COVID, we wouldn't be able to do any of our fertility stuff anymore. So we're like, okay, we needed to make sure that we were safe. So we pretty much locked ourselves in our house for a month before. And I started doing things just keep my mind busy. So I started with coloring books. Did puzzles, a lot of things that probably annoyed my husband, art crafts. And I finally just started baking. I love to bake cinnamon rolls. So I started there, and then I added cakes and cupcakes, bars, and then I dove into cookies. And I started, I think my husband and I he loves chocolate chip cookies. So we started there, and him and I actually did a cookie off for chocolate chip cookies, which was really funny. And we used to give all of our friends and families all the desserts that we had. So we did a cookie off, gave them desserts and cookies. I would like to say I won that cookie off, but we actually tied. It was an even tie, so that's fine. But after that, I found sugar cookies, and they were beautiful online. And I was like, I know I can do that because I have this thing in my head that I see something and I'm determined and I'm going to do it. So, I started, and my first batch was actually Easter 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So really recent, or not recent, but with the date and everything. So they were so good, but they were the ugliest things you've ever seen. They were so bad. I was so embarrassed. But you have to start somewhere. So then I just started baking cookies for every single occasion. We had people at our house one day, so I did cookies. For Mother's Day, I did cookies for my family, just all the different random things. And then I had someone contact me and ask me if I would be interested in doing cookies for her son's birthday. And I was like, sure. I don't know how to do I don't know what this is. And they were Sonic the Hedgehog, and I was terrified because I'm not that great. I wasn't that great at the time. And so I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it turned out really well. And from there, she would post them, and then I had family and friends that would contact me and ask me to do little cookies for them. I sold them for next to nothing because I didn't understand it was going to turn into something really.
Right.
So probably 6-8 months later, I started getting more and more orders, and I was talking to my husband, and I was like, I think I can make this into actually something. And he was like, sure, whatever. He had my back, but he was just kind of it's cookies. So I started putting myself out there more, and, did the social media thing, build myself up a little bit. And then I realized, the money that I'm making for cookies, I can actually use for fertility. So that's kind of where it came out, is that why it became a business is because I knew that it could help pay for all of our, not all of them, but some of our fertility things. And so, that's kind of how it started.
Wow. That's definitely a really different journey than a lot of other people I've talked to. I mean, so many other people I've talked to, they love starting their own business for And I don't want to say selfish reasons because it's not selfish
Yeah,
reasons.
no,
but
not at all.
It's totally different reasons. Like, oh yeah, I want to support other people and I want to support other small businesses. And so it's so cool to hear somebody who's doing it for the reason of actually starting a family. And
yes,
I can imagine that you talked about going through infertility, and I can imagine that the first 5 years or so were just brutal for you.
Oh gosh, they were horrible. I remember when we first started, I think our first year just trying, everyone's like, oh, it's so exciting. It's so fun. As it is. And then when nothing happened, I was like frantic and I thought that there was something wrong with me. And, obviously there wasn't anything like there's anything majorly wrong with me or James. It just wasn't happening for us. And so we, after about a year and a half, finally decided like we need extra help and, went through a fertility clinic here in Des Moines. We're with them for a few years. We did, oh gosh, I don't even want to admit it, but we did like 6 IUIs, which is, intrauterine insemination. This might be TMI for you, but it's just a different way to get pregnant without doing like IVF. And nothing happened for us. We didn't get pregnant. And that's kind of when we had to turn to IVF. And so, I mean, those first 4 years, it was really difficult. I think that was the hardest time for us, is because all of our friends, had babies. And I'm doing cookies for all these baby showers. You know what I mean? So it was, after I started my business. So that was really difficult, I think. But I think it made me more appreciative and, all the other people that have like had that journey. I shouldn't say more appreciative, but more, I guess, appreciative for the people that actually talk about it, because that's the only way that I realized that I could talk about it is by hearing other people talk about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
So going through that, and then starting your business on top of that, it's really interesting because we were talking, this is not your full-time business. This is just kind of a side gig.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you are crazy to be doing all these different things. Like, I'm sure you're busy all the time.
I am. I know. It's so funny because my husband's like, I never see you anymore. So sometimes I'll ask him, because he always goes to the basement to watch like a game or something at night. And sometimes like, can you please just stay upstairs and hang out in the kitchen for like 2 hours so I can talk to you while I'm doing cookies? Because I really don't. That's, I think, the biggest hurdle that I have with this business is that it's hard on your relationships, right? Because I have my full-time job that I work 40, 50 hours a week. And then I have this on top of it. And when when you have, I would say 2 weeks ago, I had 14 dozen cookies that I had to do 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And, I didn't talk to anybody or do anything that entire week because I was like, I just have to focus on cookies. So I'm really trying to pick and choose what I'm doing right now. And I hate doing that because I want to say yes to everybody, but I do need to pick and choose what's best for me. And that's kind of why right now I kind of stopped taking orders for a little bit. We do have IVF coming up next month again. So I'm just trying to really focus on myself and my family. And again, it is really hard to balance both things, and my full-time job. So I'm trying my best. I'm not always succeeding. I'm failing a lot, but I'm losing I shouldn't say I'm losing friendships, but you start to realize what friendships are important and what aren't.
Right.
And so I'm kind of going through that phase right now, which is hard.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So how do you find that balance? How are you?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's hit or miss. Some weeks are really good, but I have actually, a few groups of girlfriends. So I have like, and they're all like all different from each other, but I try to make a point to see those groups at least once a month. Right. So I have a girl group that I used to do yoga with, and we go to dinner once a month, and I always make that a priority. Or, my husband and I will do like date night once a week. And like, that's a priority for me. My family tries to get together like every other week. And so I really just I'm trying to, put a lot of time and effort into those relationships that mean the most to me. I can't talk right now. So yeah, again, it's hard. And some weeks I don't see anybody, and other weeks I am completely free and I can do whatever I want. But that balance is really difficult to find sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, one thing that I've learned in talking with so many different business owners and entrepreneurs is it always comes back to one word, which is community. And people always talk about building that community. And so many times people think of building it in a broader sense, in a larger sense, like adding more people in. And I think one of the key things that we can miss is, instead of widening your community, deepening it. And it sounds like you've been able to deepen your community through the trials that you've gone through, especially lately, especially in the last couple of years. And, good things come out of furnaces. Like gold comes out once it's been beaten in the furnace and it's been hammered out. And I see that in, you were just talking about the girlfriends that you had, the relationship with your husband. It sounds like the ones that are pure are the ones that are getting strengthened in this. And that's actually in turn strengthening you as you continue to go through not just this journey with infertility and the struggle with your husband, but also in your business as well, where you're being crazy busy.
I agree 100%. And like I said, I've had some relationships and some friend groups and stuff that I have had to let go. And I'm okay with that. It's really hard to say that. I hate saying that, but you do need to put your time and effort into those people who believe in you, who put time in for you. When you have a small business, and I'm sure you understand, like doing this podcast, you really start to understand the people that really support you and get you, right? The people that will say, to you, that can say, hey, go, I have this friend that would be really good on your podcast, go do that, right? For me, it's like, I can tell the people that really appreciate me or understand my business or understand this is an actual thing are the people that, maybe they buy $5 worth of cookies for me when I'm doing a pre-sale, or maybe they're sharing or commenting on my stuff on Instagram, right? It's the people that are doing those types of things that believe in you that really, you understand those are the types of people you want in your life because they're helping and to push you to be a better person or to help you succeed in your business. Yeah, I have a girlfriend who is a photographer who she wants to send my cookies out to her brides because, she knows that from there I might be able to, have my cookies at their weddings. And it's just like a small little gesture that she's doing, but it could impact me tremendously in the future. So things like that I think are just amazing.
There's a saying that comes to mind when you're talking about that. It's easier to make a customer a friend than a friend a customer.
Oh gosh, yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's so terrible to say, but it's so true. It's so true. I have repeat customers all the time right now, and like there's some of them that like they'll come to my door and I'll talk to them for 20 minutes, and I'll like start building relationships with them, which is really cool. But then I have some other people, that I considered really good friends at one point that really haven't supported me in my business and what I'm trying to do, or have understood that like I can't go to things all the time because I do have a second job, or I guess my cookies are my second job, and that's fine. I appreciate the customers that I have, and I hope that I can become friends with a lot of them because they're so amazing and they support me day after day. So, yep.
Well, and that's one thing that I'm learning in doing this podcast is, I tend to group it in two different ways where it's like, all right, I've got my friends that I get to hang out and talk to, and then I've got my podcast interviewees, and those people are, it's a business transaction, but it's actually not. I've been able to build relationships. We were talking about Mary from Red Dragon. Shout out Mary.
Awesome.
Oh, she's awesome, isn't she?
She's so great.
And you're like, oh, I used to teach yoga with her. I was like, that's awesome. Like little things like that. And I think that's what I think about when we talk about deepening community is, sure, you may be adding a little bit because of your customers, but you're also building those relationships. And I sit there and think about, well, why is it harder to make a friend a customer than it is to make a customer a friend? And I think part of that might just be because of the ugly that your friends know about you. Like it's like my friends know so much crap about me because I'm a very open person. But they're like, so funny. What? I don't know that I want to buy this book from him because I've seen how he lives, and he needs this book more than I do.
I really hope that my friends don't think that. No, and that could be it too. Like they know all the nitty gritty and stuff too, or and maybe they know that all this money is going towards infertility. Maybe they've supported me in other ways through that too. But yeah, that's so funny that you said that.
Well, and it could even just be like, I may not be supporting you in your business because I'm supporting you in your life.
Yes. Oh,
and
gosh, yeah.
I think that's one thing that is important to remember, especially as people who are business owners and who are entrepreneurs and innovators, is you need both of those people. You need those people that will support your business as well as the people that support you in your life. Yes. Like one of my best friends of all time, I don't know if he's listened to a single episode of this podcast. And you know what? That's totally fine. It's totally fine. He still asks about it, but he helps me keep that balance of not being consumed by it. And I think that's one thing that helps is they kind of help us keep that balance of not being consumed by our business. It's kind of like that old saying of mixing business and pleasure. Like, I just think that helps.
That's so great. I actually have never thought of it that way. And I love that you said that. That's a completely different perspective than what I usually think. So thank you. I'm like, honestly, I've never thought of it that way. I do have those that support me in other ways that it's not in my business that I should shout out more, because they do support me in those ways too. So yeah.
Well, I blame the caffeine because I am all caffeinated today. I'm caffeinated, and I've had a headache because of the stupid weather changes.
Oh, no.
Love the Midwest. So I was like, I'll take Excedrin. And then I saw it had caffeine in it. I was like, this is a mistake. But I love just talking about community and talking about the need for community, especially within small businesses, and just the little ways that people are connected with Mary from Red Dragon, connecting both of us. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of hearing about things like that. So let's talk a little bit more about Bitt of Sugar, and what are some of the favorite cookies that you've done so far?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. I have so many. And it's funny because every time I do a new set, I'm like, this is my favorite set. And then I'll do a different one. I'm like, this is my favorite one. I did ones that were like Happy Bee Day that were bumblebees and stuff, and I thought those were super cute. I did an ice cream birthday baby shower, which was fun. But honestly, I think my favorite ones are all the holiday ones that I get to do. So I do pre-sales for every holiday. So I'll like design them, and I get to pick out whatever I want to design, which is great. And I mean, my customers are so wonderful in saying like, okay, this is the theme, do what you want. So when they trust me like that, that's also really exciting. But I think all the holiday stuff is so fun, just because again, I can do what I want to do with them. And then if people don't like them, they don't need to buy them, and that's fine. But I've had a lot of success with those holiday ones too. So it's fun.
Well, and that's part of the fun of owning a business, is being able to get to do what you want to do. Like,
yes,
not every bakery is going to do some of the bachelorette party cookies.
Oh gosh, I have to say, okay, I'm so embarrassed. Anyone that like knows me, I am very much like, I'll call myself like an introverted extrovert, right? And I am not one to do those types of naughty cookies. It is just not. I remember when I bought a cookie cutter, I sent it to my girlfriend, and she goes, "You're not going to do those, are you?" Because it's just not it's not me at all. And I was so embarrassed. I remember I sent it to my mom, and I was like, "Please don't be angry," because and she of course just thinks that's hilarious. My sister, they thought it was hilarious, but for me, it's just so out of my comfort zone.
The whole time when you're making them and decorating them.
It's so bad.
It's funny because we're dancing around the topic, and I'm not even going to bring it up. You can find it on Instagram. But I was going through your Instagram last night, and I was just like, oh, this is hilarious.
Oh gosh, some of the cookies. But you know what? Bachelorette parties and stuff, people like love that stuff, and I'm not going to say no to something unless it's a little too graphic. But I'll make things tasteful. I'll just say that. I'll make it tasteful in both ways.
And figuratively.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things you talked about was having, baking as a kid, having those memories with your grandma. I think that's so cool to hear because I interviewed Beth from Pints by Beth, and she had the very same thing when it came to ice cream, where it was like, I made ice cream with my grandma when I was a kid. And for me, it wasn't necessarily my grandma, but it was my mom, growing up. And I made cakes in high school.
You did? That's so great.
I did. I wasn't very good at it.
It doesn't matter.
To anybody that bought my cakes in high school, they were box mix. I'm sorry.
Confessions on the podcast today.
Oh my goodness. I made one for my high school, for the musical I was in my senior year. It was a massive cake. I mean, I kid you not, it was probably 2 feet wide and about 3 feet long, and it looked like a beach because we were doing South Pacific. It was all box mix. It was all box mix.
Nobody needs to know. It's fine. No, except for everyone that listens to this now.
Exactly. It's okay. None of my high school friends listen to this, so we're good. But
hilarious.
I think that's so cool to have those sorts of memories, those core memories.
Yeah, so my Nana has always been a huge baker. Like and it's so funny, as she got older, she started putting different things into her recipes. So like I remember we have a running joke that she put spinach in cookies one time to get her spinach intake for the day, which is so funny to me. But that's just who she was. And she baked everything. She baked every day. And her recipes were so good. yeah, my Nana was amazing. She passed away, unfortunately, before I did anything with this business. But I know that if she saw what I was doing, she'd be so excited and super happy, and she'd probably want to eat everything. So,
Yeah, I've got a grandma from Arkansas. My mom's gonna kill me if I get that wrong. I'm pretty sure she's from Arkansas. Love her to death, and she always made the best pecan pie. Now, granted, it had about 2 liters of corn syrup in it, but it was
Still,
so
doesn't
good.
matter.
Every Thanksgiving, just the best pecan pie or snickerdoodles, and she would make this coconut cream cake, and it was a 3-layer, just decadent coconut cream cake. And so a couple months ago, when they moved into an assisted living instead of independent living, my parents were helping them clean out their kitchen, and they're like, all right, you get all their food. I was like, all right, cool. And there's about 8 boxes of white cake mix and all this frosting for coconut cream cake. I was like, oh my goodness. But it also sounds like you're hoping to kind of create those memories in your own family as well.
oh gosh, yeah. So I am not. I will say this: I'm amazing at cake, or not cakes. I'm amazing at cookies and bars. I am the worst cake maker in the world. Like, I'm horrible. But I make a point every year to do a cake for like my nephew, and I'll start doing that for my niece. I remember, this is so embarrassing. I haven't told anybody this except for my sister.
All the secrets are coming out on this podcast today.
2 years ago, I made a cake for my nephew's birthday. And I was very distracted as I was making this. Again, I'm not a great cake maker. Some people are amazing and I love it, but it's just not for me. Anyhow, I finished the cake and I was like, something is wrong. It tasted like cornbread. Because I didn't put any like vanilla in it. I like completely missed a bunch of the stuff, and everyone was so nice. I'm like, this is such great cake. And then I go in the trash later, and that's like half of it's in the trash because it was just horrible cake. But yes, I am trying to make memories for, my family, obviously. And then for other people's family, it's so fun because then I can be a part of their special events. And I think that's so exciting to me that they're sharing my passion with their family and friends, and I get to be a part of their events. That's so cool. So
what would you say has been the best part of owning this business so far?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's a few things. I think that it's a creative outlet for me. And so I love letting my creativity flow in different ways. And I think this is a really big one for me. I also think meeting new people has been so fun. Like getting to meet all of the customers, people that like will come to my pop-ups and, tell me their stories. I have a lot of women who have reached out to me and have ordered me specifically because they want to support my business because of IVF. Either they've gone through it or someone they know has gone through it. And that to me, I'm not gonna get emotional, but that to me is so amazing because they've been through my struggle and they understand like how it feels, and I've been through their struggle too. And so that's really cool. I'm sorry, I'm just getting emotional. So that's really cool to me that I'm able to do that. I'm actually making cookies this week for my fertility clinic, but somebody else ordered them. So she's like, I'm going to make cookies for my fertility clinic. And I was like, oh, so cool. Which one? And then she told me and I was like, oh, that's where I'm at. Like, very cool. And I love everyone that's there. So I'm so excited that they'll get to like get cookies for me too. But yeah, I think that's so amazing to me is that I've got to connect with people through something that was so difficult. So yeah.
I think you're allowed to get emotional when you're talking about something like this.
Yeah.
It's not a light topic.
No.
And I really appreciate your frankness and openness about it because, obviously it's not something I have ever gone through or will ever go through in the same capacity that you do.
I do think though that it's so important because when I first was going through it, nobody was talking about it. And I'm sure there were, but nobody that I knew in my immediate community. Nobody knew like what I was going through. They didn't know how to connect with me. People didn't even know how to talk to me. And I didn't know how to talk to other people. And so it was almost like a taboo topic, right? You don't want to talk about it. It's like, but I feel since I've gone through it, it's so important to talk about. It's so important to like put your story out there, to be vulnerable so that other people, whether they've gone through it themselves or they know someone that's gone through it, they can connect with other people, their friends and family that have gone through it. I've had a lot of women reach out to me and be like, hey, I have a friend that's going through infertility. What's the best way for me to reach out to them or to talk to them about it, or can I do something for them? And I think that's so cool that they're, wanting to find a way to connect with other people. And I don't think if I wasn't vulnerable, the way that I have been and talking about it for the past 5 years, a lot of people wouldn't even know about fertility. I mean, my mom, I'm going to use her as an example. I love my mom so much, but she didn't know how to talk to me about it for a long time. And so she just wouldn't talk to me about it. And finally I had to go up to her and be like, hey mom, I really need to talk to you. I need to talk to somebody. And since then, she will talk to other people about infertility too, and kind of explain what we're going through. And so even that spreads, start with one little drop and it turns into ripples. Right. And so she does that too. And so does my sister. And I think that's so great. It's important to talk about. So I'm always open. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think being able to take something so devastating and just hard to deal with, especially for so long. I mean, for years you've talked about struggling with this, and being able to take that and instead of throwing yourself a pity party saying, woe is me, things are not going my way, you are championing a way to talk about it openly and to talk about it with humility and frankness, and knowing that, nothing I can say is ever going to make it better, but let's say something.
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah.
And, I'm, like I said, I may not be able to empathize in that same way, but even just talking about some of the own struggles I've had, and talking with Carla Walsh about her struggles, I've realized that it is so necessary to have people like you and like Carla and other people speak out about the difficult situations that they've been through, and the trauma that comes with that, because that's where healing begins.
Yes,
and
I agree.
I talked with a friend one night. She's like, you make jokes about your depression all the time. I was like, yeah, once you laugh at it, the power goes away. It doesn't have that power over you anymore. 100%. And so I love hearing that not only is that a motivating factor for you in this business, it's also giving you a way to help other women who are struggling with this. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that we can do, is we can use our own struggles and our own trauma and our own hurt and our own pain to help others deal with it. And I absolutely love hearing that that's something that you're passionate about.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. I've always told myself too that my number one goal, obviously, with this business is to pay for our infertility. I think that's obviously my number one goal. But my number two goal that James and I always talk about is, if I could get to a point that this is a bigger thing, how can I support other women that are going through it? Whether that be percentage of my profit goes towards other women or goes to other people that are going through infertility struggles. You know what I mean? That would be an ultimate end goal for me to be able to do, because again, it's important to talk about. It's important to, engage with other people or support other people that are going through things that you've gone through. And I completely understand what you say about making a joke of the depression stuff that you've gone through, because that's how I dealt with it, for a really long time. Was I would kind of, we would go to a baby shower and it'd be like, oh, another one, kind of thing, and just kind of laugh it off. But it took, I don't know about you, but it took me a really long time to get there. I mean, even today, one of my girlfriends is having a surprise baby shower, and I didn't go today because I knew that if I put myself in that situation, it was going to be really difficult, and I knew I'd cry the whole time, because I just can't be in those situations. But my husband and I were joking about it today, because he's like, are you going to go and cry your eyes out today? Or what's your plan? And so it's good to kind of laugh it off and be like, okay, that's, this is where I am, and I can laugh about it, and it's fine. But I'm not going to put myself in the situations that are going to, I don't want other people to feel bad about my situation. Right. So yeah.
Exactly. And something like that, you don't want to make yourself the star of somebody else's celebration.
And that's why I don't go. Again, I haven't been to a baby shower in a while, just because I need to disconnect myself from those things. I'm always going to I'll reach out afterwards, or I'll invite that person over for dinner, but big group things, it's just hard.
I can totally understand.
Boundaries are important.
There we go. If there's one thing you can take away from this episode, it's boundaries are important. And also, if you need bachelorette cookies, then
I do those, and I'm not going to tell you what they are.
you can find those yourself.
So
One
funny.
thing that we talked about shortly before the episode started was actually shortly after this episode's releasing, Infertility Awareness Week is happening.
Yes. So Infertility Awareness Week is every year. And it's a full week that just, invites women that have been gone through infertility to, talk about their struggle, and talk about, where they've been. I'm just going to throw out some numbers. So 1 in 8 women actually go through infertility struggles. And you wouldn't think that because, you think about all the people that you went to high school with and knowing that 1 in 8 of those couples or people are going to have some sort of infertility struggle. And then 1 in 4 women have miscarriages. And I am lucky enough to be in both of those groups. So Infertility Awareness Week is just a really great way for, people to talk about it and for other people to listen, I think is a big thing. I know there's a specific day. I want to say it's always on Wednesday, but don't quote me on that. But it's a Wear Orange. So Infertility Awareness Week, the color is orange. So anyone listening, if you are, April 24th is the first day. If you research it, you can find out what day you're actually supposed to wear orange. And that's just to show your support for people that have gone through infertility or, infant loss. So, yeah.
It's really powerful, and I think that's one thing that people need to do is show support, even if they don't know how else to do it. Just be there. Yeah. Just be there.
Be there. Just
show people that you're willing to be there.
Yes. Yep.
And
just show up.
Talking about the friends and like how they know your nitty gritty. Show people that you're willing to be in that nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And be willing to help bear their pain.
Yes, absolutely.
As we kind of wrap up this episode, this has been, first off, really fun. This has been awesome. As we kind of just wrap this up, let's talk a little bit more about your business and how to find you. You mentioned pop-ups. You said that you're not taking orders for right now, but where can we support you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, which is just at Bitt of Sugar. It's BITT of Sugar. Quick little backstory. So my name of my business is called Bitt of Sugar. My maiden name used to be Bittner. And so I did the Bitt, so BITT, because my last name was BITTNER. And the sugar part, obviously sugar cookies, but also I was born in Maui and we lived across the street from a sugarcane mill. So it kind of ties the two together. So yes, a Bitt of Sugar, BITT of Sugar. I'm also on Facebook, same thing, Bitt of Sugar. And I just started a website. It is not beautiful, but you can also find me on my website, which is www.bittofsugar.com. And that'll tell you a little bit more about my story, show you some pictures, and then send you to my page where you can order. Unfortunately, yes, I'm not taking orders right now. My husband and I are actually going through IVF again in April. So when this comes out, I'll probably be in it. I'm excited. We're nervous, but that's why we're just not taking orders right now, just to, relax before that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you'll mention any sort of pop-ups on those websites.
Yes,
as well.
I always do. I don't have anything planned yet, but hopefully 4th of July. I have a girlfriend who owns a shop called Pop and Nod, and it's right next door to Lemie. And so I usually do all of my pop-ups there. It's a beautiful little clothing shop. I guess she has a little bit of everything actually. And her name is Mallory. She's so fun, but I usually do all my pop-ups at her store. It's a really great location. And then also it helps me support her business too. So it's really fun.
It's all about supporting other people.
It is 100%.
Awesome. Well, Jacqueline, this has just been a really fun episode. I really appreciate your candidness and being willing to do something. We talked a little bit, and you're like, "I'm really nervous," and I hope that we kind of ease that a little bit.
You did. It's so funny. I was before I did this. If you know Brene Brown at all, but Brene Brown does this thing where she calls them FFTs. I'm not going to cuss on here, but it's like effing first times. And so I was just thinking about before I did this. I was like, this is so nervous. I'm not sure if I'm able to do it. And then it's like you just have to do it and forge through. And if you sound stupid, it's fine. So that's kind of where my head was at when I came in here today. First time.
I definitely don't think you sounded stupid. Hopefully neither one of us did.
No, absolutely not.
But seriously, this has been awesome. I really love seeing... Oh, by the way, she made me cookies with my logo on them, and I'm going to post a picture. They're awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Fun.
That is so sweet. But seriously, this has been a blast. I really have enjoyed just talking with you and learning, maybe we didn't touch as much on the business side, but even just learning more about the struggles with infertility that you've had, and it's kind of enlightening me a little bit too in how to talk to other people, friends that I've had, because I can think of multiple friends off the top of my head, but just hearing you with your desire to help your community in however that is, whether it's widening it or deepening it, and just... Yeah, it's so cool to hear it. I'm really glad that we got connected, and thank you for being an outsider with me today.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
It has been. You have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Jacqueline, thanks again for taking the time to be on this podcast. And thank you so much for being willing to share your story about infertility and your struggles and that. And I think it's helping more people than we may realize. Let me tell you, Jacqueline made me some cookies with my logo on them, and they were amazing. So, if you ever have a chance to grab some of her cookies, seriously, I highly recommend it. You can follow Bitt of Sugar on all social medias that she mentioned. Thank you for listening to Life as an Outsider and contributing to the listeners that I have. It's really encouraging to continue to see people enjoying this, and I hope that you all find some more value in talking with entrepreneurs and business owners like I have. Thanks for being an outsider with me. Be kind to each other. Life as an Outsider is a podcast produced by me, Jake Schneider. My intro and outro song is Groove by the ever popular John Curry. Make sure to check him out on Spotify, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you for being an outsider.